Here comes the intro. Skip forward 30 seconds if you want to get right to the episode. This is the Tailboard Talk Podcast, the best health, wellness, and lifestyle resource for the fire service. We're using stories, lessons, and tips from the front lines to give a realistic view of what the job can do to us and how we can make it out alive. I'm Chris Morella, a firefighter since 03, medic since 05, full-time since 08, and promoted to lieutenant in 20. I'm also a personal trainer and strength coach, and I'm here to give you the best information and host the best discussions to make us capable and durable, both on the job and away from it. So grab a heater, steal some fancy creamer from First Shift, and let's go chat. Well, you're back.
Hello.
I looked, and the last episode you were on was November 17th, I think.
Wait, November?
I mean, no, I have to look. We're in November now, right? October?
Mm-hmm.
August 17th. Anyways, it was about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I've had some episodes since then. And also...
They've been very good episodes, too.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
And also, we gained a little more of an audience since then, just in the past, 3 episodes. So, the Molly one, and then Joe Galley one, and then Patrick one, and then Kurt and I is kind of keeping up with that. So I told Kurt, I'm like, oh, those 3 before us, there was a peak. They were awesome episodes, and we're just riding the honeymoon of that, and then it's all going to come crashing down. He was like, yeah, we'll take care of that momentum for you. So, but let's go back then. So a lot of people may not know you at all because you're not a social media guru.
No.
Not really on there. So why don't you just introduce yourself real quick? Even just your name.
My name is Katie.
Good, stop there. Now, okay, so you said what are some of your favorite episodes since you've been on? Do you need me to pull up a list of them?
Since I've been on?
Yeah.
In just my episodes or all of them?
No, since the last time you were on.
Oh, they've all been really interesting and good in their own ways.
Jeez, they all have great personalities. Treat you right. Bunch of losers.
No, everyone was very fascinating because
All right, so tell me why the Cat Pope one is your favorite episode since you've been on.
I want to be her friend.
Yeah, you can be.
Kat, if you're listening, I want to be your friend. I just thought I related to that one so much when she was saying things about
Spike cleaning?
I do that all the time.
I think that's what she called it.
Yes. Or when she was talking about how, I really do like and love my husband. I'm like, I have multiple thoughts like that a week.
Like, I can't wait to have that the second part of that thought, which is I do like him.
Yeah.
Not just all the stuff I hate about you.
I liked her. She was very, her story, I find her job very fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, I could never do it.
Yes.
Because I'm a scaredy cat.
Yeah.
And that stuff just kind of creeps me out, but I find it fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So she was great. I really liked her. I think I listened to that one twice, actually.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Well, because once I was in the car, and sometimes I don't fully pay attention, so I'm I feel like
you do not pay attention when you're in the car at all, by the way.
I do. Listen, never been in an accident, never got a ticket. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Any hoodles. I think I listened to that twice because I was taking Nathan to daycare or school or I don't know. I was in the car, so I re-listened to it again when I was cleaning.
Yeah.
So that was just. I just liked her personality. I liked your banter.
Yeah.
I could just relate to it. It's probably the first ones where I could really relate to a lot of things that were being said. Not necessarily about the drinking stuff, but just just the emotional side of it. And just how she's talking about her husband. I just thought it was funny because I'm okay, I don't have an issue with drinking, but I do find those things funny because I think the same way sometimes. Yeah. So she's definitely in my top.
So that one was called Cat Pope is the last responder you need to know. That's the title of it.
Yeah.
Because she calls herself a last responder because she's the last one there. But what else? Any other ones sticking out in your mind? You don't have to. You don't have to just lump everybody into participation trophies here.
Well, I thought the one with you and Patrick was the first
10 minutes.
The first 10 minutes was hysterical.
Yeah.
And only because just knowing them personally, I could just see both of their personalities in the conversation that Patrick was explaining.
When he said Bluey's dead.
Yeah, and she had a little cry, and I gave her a little hug. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, Patrick's acting the same way Chris would act in a situation similar to this, where there was something that I wanted, and you're like, whoopsie doodles.
These things happen.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go Hawks.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was split feedback on that one of like, I feel like Patrick's really rooting for the Hawks on this one. Like, not that he wants his chickens to die, but he wants the Hawks to be happier than he wants his chickens to live.
Listen, at the end of the day, we know who runs the house. If Beth wants 12 chickens, Hattie, yeah. If Hattie wants 12 chickens, there's going to be 12 chickens at Patrick's house.
Yep, and they're coming in the sunroom.
Yep.
Okay. 2 questions. They're connected together.
Okay.
What's your favorite thing that happened in the past week? And also, how many times in the past week have you felt like the worst parent ever in the whole world? Mine number is 3.
Your number's 3?
Yeah.
That's it?
Well, yeah, I had to go to work twice. So, and one of them was actually when I was at work.
Yes.
So.
All right, let's start with what was the best thing this week?
Yeah.
Nathan went on his first field trip. Mm-hmm. That was fun for him.
That was part of my worst parent ever.
Yeah.
Good. You're bringing up all my worst ones so far.
So I thought that was cute. He was very excited to go to the field trip. Mind you, the field trip was at the fire station, so it was a little anticlimactic for him.
No, it was not. So I forgot about that, so now my number's 4.
Okay.
All right, so how many times you felt like a terrible parent this week?
Oh, probably like once a day, every day.
Good.
We're just in a tough season, and at the end of the day, the hardest part about this season right now is managing, I think, our own emotions and expectations. So when I let that little angel of ours,
a-hole,
get the best of me, and then I am not the best parent in my head. I'm like, God, I won. And then you feel bad, so you guilt trip yourself and be like, whatever you want, bud. And he's like, that's right, my plan worked.
Well, yeah, that happened on one of the days I felt bad was when you guys came and visited me at work, and he just wanted to play, and there's just way too much stuff in that station. And so I was like, just had to tell him no, and then he wanted to run away at the end because he wanted to run away because he didn't want to stop playing, like the fun to stop. But he ran like into the street almost. So
I feel like you need to preface with saying like, our child is a runner. So anyone listening who's got a kid who's a runner, they just run.
He's a runner. But then you said on the way, and when he got in the car, he was like,
Mama, I'm sad. I'm like, why are you sad, buddy? What's the matter? He goes, Nathan's not a good listener.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, now I feel like garbage. Thanks a lot.
Cool.
And then he fell asleep 3 seconds later.
Time to cry.
Yeah. All the way home.
Have a little cry.
Have a little cry.
Have a little hug. Yeah. Let him watch shows in bed.
Pretty much.
See you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Okay. So one of the questions that I asked for topics for today, 2 different episodes I had in my head for today fell through because Kurt got sick he doesn't have COVID, he just got sick. Someone came to work sick, saying it was allergies, got him sick, so couldn't record with him. And then I was going to tell a story about when I was on probation and there was threatened layoffs, and I started running that by Joe Galley just to get like an idea of what I could say and not say to get in trouble. Mm-hmm. And so we talked about it, but then he was like, hey, wouldn't it be good if you had like a couple other guys that you got hired with on, like Walzak? Because I was 23, right, when I got hired. Mm-hmm. And he was like, Jason was like 36 or 37. Yeah. And me getting laid off was like, oh, that sucks, but I'm on 3 other lists. Jason had a totally different thing going. He had a house he was rehabbing, a job he was trying to leave. Yeah. A lot, he had a lot of stuff going on. So a layoff with him would be like devastating. Yeah. So I was like, well, I can't just come in and talk about that alone then. I'll have to get Jason on here to talk about that.
Good call, Joe.
Yeah. Stupid Joe Galley. So then I asked for questions, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that came back was talking about ways you can spot PTSD in your partner and things that your partner can do, things that the spouse or partner at home can do for themselves, right? And I think that's a little, it's not out of our depth because we went to the Molly Jones speech, right? But that made me kind of think, so sorry, Matt Spade, I'm deviating from your suggestion. What it made me think of was when we went to that Molly Jones one, and she has her episode on here too. It's Molly Jones is here for Firefighters. She's works for the Advanced Recovery Systems, which is partners with the IAFF Center of Excellence. Yeah. What?
I like how you can just rattle that off, but you have to think about anytime you have to give one of our kids' birthdays.
Well, the years are weird.
Okay. Anyways, go ahead.
So she had her episode, and then we went to her presentation like a week later, right? Something like that. And one of the things that we both immediately keyed in on was when she was talking about compassion fatigue. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting behind you because it was a circular table, so I was behind you. And besides you yawning through the whole thing, I didn't see much agreement, but afterwards you were like, oh, that we definitely have compassion fatigue, so we got to take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
So what about that when she was presenting kind of caught your ears and kind of perked you up a little bit?
Well, just in case Molly is listening, I was not yawning because your presentation was boring. I was yawning because I was exhausted. I thought your presentation was very fascinating and interesting, and you did a good job. Now, what was your question?
Why did that catch your attention so quickly?
Oh, because we've talked about it before, about compassion fatigue. And before having kids, there was really no, like, compassion fatigue on my end.
When did I talk about with me?
Like, it was something that you were discussing, and, like, I think you were learning about, not necessarily, like, learning about it, but talking more about it at work or something. You had just brought it up as a topic of conversation, and I didn't really understand it. I just remember this from, like, years ago. It was just one of those things that I'm, like, it kind of stuck with me when you talked about, like, the first time, like, probably 7 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just one of those little nuggets that just stuck. And then they were talking about it again. I was like, we definitely both have that.
Yeah.
Right now.
Do you remember what it was generally? You rattle off like not the parameters for it, but what?
I think it was more just being, I'm probably going to butcher this, but I think it was just like, you're almost like just drained from worrying about like everybody else and like that constant needing of attention from other, like someone always kind of needing you. I could be wrong, but I think that's kind of like the general lame.
Well, yeah, you're tired of giving compassion to everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not receiving any or just it being a constant strain. So basically you get apathetic towards things you should really give a shit about.
Right.
Like the kids. Like
Yeah.
And one of the examples was like, now I can't remember exactly the wording of it, but basically it was like, you don't feel bad about punishing your kids, or you don't feel bad about something unfair happening to your kids or someone close to you, where you look at this thing that you should really care about and really have an emotional connection to, and if something bad happens to that thing or that person, you're like, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. More than just like the tough guy, like, suck it up, or
brush it off,
be a boy or whatever, right? But like really not just couldn't even be bothered by feeling bad about it. I know there's been at least one time that I can kind of think of with Nathan when that happened. I was like, well, there you go. Like that happened. You fell down and now you're hurt. And or when I've come home from work tired or just stressed or whatever, and I've put him in the thinking corner, I put him in timeout and he's just throwing a fit. And I'm like, too bad. And it's not even too bad as like, yeah, I'm sorry, man. You really have to do this, and I really have to teach you a lesson. It's like, just sit in the corner and shut up for a little bit. I don't care.
Yeah.
And luckily, I've been able to see that or like recognize the difference in that and be like, "Ooh, that is not a good response."
Well, I think we've both done a better job of kind of calling each other out on situations like that when one of us is starting to get snippy.
Yeah.
For no reason. I mean, there's obviously a reason, but like for no reason. Like when they're just doing like their normal same old things and it's just sensory overload. Yeah. And you're like, I can't do that right now.
Well, the good part about compassion fatigue. I meant to get my notes. Because there was, I took notes during.
I saw.
Nice talk. There was a timeline to it, and there's also, that was the last thing basically before burnout. And once you get to burnout, it's like, not intensive, but you got to do some stuff to get out of burnout or to remedy the effects of burnout. But I remember her saying for compassion fatigue, it's like, you usually just need some time off, like time away from the issue or time off of work a little bit. And, we didn't really get into how much time off, but I know that the times when I felt like I was really stressed out at work, just having the one Kelly day, or one vacation day, so 5 days off total, was enough to go back and not be immediately irritated by something.
Right.
But then there's other times where you have, we've gone on camping trips and I'll have 3 shift days off. So almost 10 or 12 days off. And I go back and first thing in the door, you're like, God.
Yeah.
Send me home again.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the way it is though. Cause there's definitely some calls at work that no matter how good your day is going or what positive thing you're looking at, there could be a patient, like a repeat patient that you just don't jive with.
Yeah.
Or a situation that you've been in just so many times that even though you're in a good mood and you're coming back to work after days off, that's not a buffer. Like as soon as you get put in that situation again with whatever it is, you just snap right back into that irritated state, So that's difficult. But yeah, it was one of the things I remember her saying was compassion fatigue is like, a little bit of reflection, a little bit of acknowledging what's going on, and then some time away, and you're standing a chance of feeling better, not as terrible, you know.
Right.
So whenever you're ready to take a break. I mean, we just went on our camping trip.
Yeah.
But that was like the first time we've been away from both kids
Ever.
since the second one was born. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been bugging you to get a babysitter.
Yes. Coincidentally, I talked to Patrick's wife about that one. So
Yeah.
I have an app to sign up for. But I've been working on it. Babysitters are hard.
Yeah.
Very hard. I mean, I see now as a kid who babysat, I'm like, oh, this was like an actual like honor. Someone like trusted me with their children.
Like this was kind of a big deal.
Yeah. I'm like, now I'm like, there are psychopaths out there.
Would you have trusted you? Like looking back at you
Yeah.
when you were
Yeah.
babysitting, would you be like, oh, I'd hire Katie?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you would.
Of course I would.
Nerd.
I was a very good kid.
I know.
Unlike somebody at this table.
I babysat once. I babysat
who?
once. I don't know. I can't remember.
Was it a person or a dog?
Well, here's the
goldfish.
story. Is I was babysitting. I must have been one of my mom's friends or something like that. I can't remember.
You were
who it
babysitting
was.
like your mom's friend or her kids?
The kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I was babysitting my mom's friend.
I know she just needed someone to sit with her for a minute.
Awkward. It must have been one of my mom's friends. And there was like 2 kids or something like that. And all I had to do was, they were already in bed, I think. And all I had to do was like keep them in bed. And if they woke up, show them where the refrigerator was. I barely remember it. What I remember is I was downstairs and all of a sudden I thought someone was breaking in the house because something was coming down the stairs. Like I thought one of the kids was falling down the stairs at first, but it was like rhythmic. It was like thumps coming down the stairs, right? And I was like, what is going on? The house was pretty much dark except for the one room I was in. It was a house like our size, enormous mansion. And
Yeah.
I turned the corner, and the entire time I was there, without me knowing, there was like an 80-pound golden retriever on the second floor in somewhere, and it had 3 legs. And now it was
that's funny.
coming down the stairs, and it was like thumping its fat ass down the
It
stairs.
was like booty scooting down.
Kind of, but it was like dunk 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 dunk, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on in here?"
How'd they forget to tell you they had a dog, or did they tell you and you
I
forgot?
think I can't remember where I was, so they could have told me a million things. And also, they probably just thought like this fat dog's gonna sit up in its room all night, you know. And for some reason, it came down the stairs and it scared the crap out of me. But that's my babysitting story.
So would you have trusted you looking back at yourself to babysit? Because I would not trust you to babysit.
No, I mean, no. I was a bad babysitter. I was a bad employee. Like with the fire department jobs, I was fine, but other jobs I had, I just didn't show up for. Just didn't care.
It's hard to see you having like an actual job.
Well, I worked I was a sandwich artist for a while.
Wasn't that like 2 weeks?
It was I don't know. It was a little. I don't know. Sure. I mean, I think it didn't work out. I left a bunch of stuff out one night, like. The lights. I left the lights on, and
anyways, maybe you should stop talking.
The big sandwich board, like in front of on the sidewalk, and I guess they got a note from the city, like don't do that, and I got in trouble. I was like, I don't care. And then I worked for a company that supplied scorekeepers to hockey games, like sit and run the clock and run the scoreboard. Mm-hmm. And that was unfortunately right at the end of high school for me, and I didn't care about much, and so I was going out and staying out late, and then I slept through like 2 or 3 mornings worth of games, and that didn't last long either. But here I am.
You Wheaton kids not needing a job.
No, I needed one. I just couldn't bring myself to give a shit. What else anything else about compassion fatigue? I think that was important just to like kind of say as a thing, and also, I mean, I've definitely experienced it several times. Like you said, I didn't remember talking to you about it 7 or 8 years ago, or whatever you said. But yeah, now we both have it.
Well, I think
Shades of it.
Well, I definitely think that hearing her talk about it and going, yeah, that's totally like, for me personally, like, I need a break. Like, I love our kids to death, but I am, at the end of the day, let's face it, I'm like the default parent. So whenever they are hungry or tired or cranky or have an owie or like, they come to me.
Yeah.
I mean, they come to you and you do all the things too, but like.
I got to force them to come to me though.
Yeah.
Like whenever Nathan gets hurt, he wants to run and show you. He wants to show you.
Yes.
What it is. I'm like, just come here and show me. And
yeah.
I'll brush it off just like Mom will. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. So I think it definitely made going on our trip, just the 2 of us, like, okay, we need this.
Yeah.
I need this.
Did you feel better when we came back?
I did.
Because I remember saying like before we left, you're like, I think the thought of us going away for 3 days is going to get me through the next week and a half. I was like, that's a long ass time. Be clinging on to this little trip we got going.
But as we talked about before, I love when you're home. I love you around. But when you're not home, my day goes so much smoother.
Yeah.
So I've noticed too, like even coming back and kind of even leading into that as far as like the compassion fatigue, it's almost like I just have started, and this is going to sound so bad, but I've stopped worrying about what you're doing and just keep pretending like you're not home.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay,
that does sound bad. You're right.
Because I'm like, well, here's my day. Like, here's my schedule. Like, I have things I want to do with them or take them somewhere. Because if I don't do things, all of us are just cranky.
Yeah.
So, and you have a lot of things that you need to do, and it's not necessarily always being with us. And so I've just noticed that if I just plan my day and my week how I want to plan it and what I need to do, then we can fit you in the pockets.
Yeah.
But I think it's worked out better because like today, what'd you do today? You were home last night. You were home last night. So we all got up together. You hung out with the kids for like the 2 hours we were home. Mm-hmm. And then I took the kids for the entire morning because I wanted to take Nathan to like his little story time and to the library. Went to the park. And if I had to wait around and be like, do you want to do this with us? Or like worry about like, what are you doing? Do you need to be around? Like, what's going on?
Do you need to be around us?
Do you need to be around us? It kind of just derails my day. And then it's just almost like another person I have to think about feelings for the day. And it's just easier to pretend that you're not home. And anyone who's listening, who's the stay-at-home parent understands it because you don't have a typical job. So I can't be like, hey, Monday through Friday, it's like, here's our schedule because dad's gone or, you know, whatever. And then Saturdays and Sundays could be the fun days. Like sometimes Wednesdays and Thursdays are their fun days. And then Saturdays and Sundays are like Monday and Tuesday. So if I just run my week like a Monday through Friday and fit you into those pockets, it works out better for me.
Okay.
And I'm less annoyed.
Hey, whatever works out for you, lady.
So
that's fine.
that's how I'm overcoming my compassion fatigue.
By just cutting me out of the equation. Just one less person to give a shit.
Just make sure you go to work and you get a paycheck.
Okay.
Just kidding. Kind of.
Huh? Well then. Anything else? It's okay if this is a short one. This is just something I thought was a good topic. We can talk. I mean, we can try to shoehorn in PTSD stuff, but
yeah. I mean, I read the PTSD question, and obviously we're not professionals to fully discuss that. And I was thinking about it after you showed me the question, as far as like signs. I could be wrong, but I just from like my memory of our history together, there's only one call that I can recall that was almost had like a negative aftermath.
Yeah.
Like and for the most part, I mean, I feel like we've lived together and like
forever.
Well, yeah, but like you weren't on Elgin very long before we lived together. So I think I've been around for a lot of your milestones with the department as far as like seeing you the next morning. Mm-hmm. And in that time, I can only think of one call that there was quite the aftermath from. That was probably like a few hard weeks and then some easier months afterwards. Yeah. But I don't feel like that caused you like PTSD. I feel like that was very draining. Well, I don't necessarily know if they would even like. Go ahead. Sorry. Because you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Well, that's one of the things about PTSD is that like you can have one call that can be the final drop in the bucket, mm-hmm. you know, or like the straw that breaks the camel's back or whatever. Mm-hmm. But no one thing can give you PTSD. It's going to be like these 13 years or 14 years full of stuff, and mm-hmm. then this one thing just happened to break it open, and then it's not like a light switch, you have it, but it's like more or less uncovered, or it's active then, and then it's something that's a condition that you develop over a long period of time, and then it's a lot like an injury. Like Kurt and I just talked about back injuries in the last episode, how
I listened.
Very rarely is it one thing that your back has 100% and then it's broken.
Right.
It's like it was slowly degrading in its strength over time, and then a little benign movement can just totally rupture it, right? So that's a lot like PTSD. It can be brewing for a long time, and then eventually it just like develops, and one catalyst can kick it off, or it can just be like nothing fancy's happening, nothing like eventful's happening, but now somebody's having trouble sleeping and nightmares and weight loss and withdrawing and all like the typical or clinical signs of depression or something like that, you know.
I don't feel like I've ever seen that with you. I can definitely tell when you've had like a frustrating few shifts because you definitely, your whole attitude and demeanor changes. But as far as like PTSD goes, I don't feel equipped to answer that question as far as like, because I can only go based on you.
Yeah. You'd be out of your league to try to handle it or like treat it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But just recognizing that something's off or something's like goofy is probably more valuable than a lot of things, I would say.
Well, yeah. I definitely think, I mean, I think I can catch on to when things are shifting in your brain or your feelings, your whole demeanor changes. So I think as far as like what I can do is just, you almost have to be aware. That comes with time, I think, like being aware of your partner's behavior and their general normal, quote unquote, personality, as opposed to when they come home and something's amiss. I'm not talking about just being cranky because they didn't sleep all night. Like,
which is not the only reason you can be cranky. We just had this skirmish the other day.
Yes. Skirmish. You and your words sometimes. No, I mean, if you've had a few frustrating shifts, like within like 2-3 weeks, your demeanor's off for like 2-3 weeks. Yeah. Like you're just a bundle of joy.
Well, it's usually because something's happening that I have to continue to deal with. And it's I would say it's more, probably in the past 6 or 7 years, it's been less the calls and more like either situations at the department or personnel issues or stuff that happened in that shift. And I'm like, great, this will be a project for the next month. Like I have to put up with this now or whatever the case may be. I guess that's a good just a light touch on it to kind of.
And I think just as far as, I know the second part of the question was like what, like me, like your partner can do for themselves, like me, like I'm not exactly sure what they mean by do for themselves, but I know with you, when you get in those moods, I have to remind myself it's not me you're annoyed with, hopefully, at least for 90% of it. Yeah. That it's whatever situation that's going on at work is the problem. Yeah. And as we tell Nathan, like, you can be in your feelings, you can be all those things, but
you can't be destructive.
You can't be destructive.
Yeah. No biting.
Well, no, and I think we've gotten better too, and I feel like this probably just comes with time, and I think time within your relationship, time with your person, like truly understanding, having hard conversations about feelings, and just kind of understanding each other and knowing how to approach the subject. Be like, hey, what's going on?
Well, maybe,
which can be easy and hard.
Yeah, I mean, as you're saying that, I'm thinking back to what kind of Molly was saying, I think in the episode, where she was like, yeah, some people just won't ever have these conversations with their spouse. Like, it's just not happening. And, I mean, I guess if you know that's the deal, then that's the deal, right? So I guess at that point, I mean, what would you do if I was like, you could obviously tell something was going on, but I was like, listen, I'm never going to talk to you about this stuff. And I think some guys do that maybe because they don't want to burden their partner with it without knowing. So there's that thing called vicarious trauma. They don't know about that, but they just know, like, I don't want to be a burden. Right. You know, or whatever the case is. If I told you, like, yeah, you're just going to have to live with me being angry, I'm never going to talk to you about it.
Oh, I'd be like, there's the door. See ya.
Okay. Hard ass. No. Yeah, right.
No, I would say, I would assume that'd be a conversation we'd have before we got married. Or if it was something that happened after we got married because you got hired afterwards, I would say then you have to go see a therapist. And whether that's at work, seeing a peer support person at work who's going to tell you need to go talk to somebody. Then I would say, and then we as a couple need to go talk to somebody because this isn't. Yeah. I think you have to know yourself. If you're okay with living like that, go for it. Don't talk to each other. But that for me personally, that just wouldn't.
Sounds okay.
That wouldn't work for me. So I'd be like, here are our options. Yeah. And I'd probably actually, if that's what you said to me, depending on how and why I read the situation, I'd probably call your brother. Yeah. And be like, you need to talk to some sense into this turkey. And be like, he's got an issue. Yeah. So.
What if you're married to someone who says half the conversation is their head and the other half out loud? How annoying would that be?
I mean, it depends on what the conversation is.
Yeah, all of them. Like when we were driving the other day and you said, oh, Joe looks like he lost some weight. They're stopping, by the way. And I said, who is stopping what? And you said, when they're driving down to Florida, they're going to stop halfway. And I said, oh, fuck me, right? I should have known that.
You should talk to your brother more.
Yeah, right. Okay. Do you want to leave any messages for Kat before we go?
I really
Got
liked
your
her.
girl crush on Kat?
I do. She was great. I really liked her. Not that I don't like all of your people.
Yeah.
But I think that was the first one. That was probably only like the only other, if I remember correctly, like kind of the only other person you've had where kind of talked about some relationship things. So I think I just related a little bit more.
Besides Molly, probably, yeah.
Yeah, but this was before Molly.
Yeah.
And like Molly was fascinating because she got kind of more into like the technical terms of things and
Yeah.
probably fascinating on a different level where this was like, oh no, I spike clean. Oh no, there's times I look at my husband like, okay, I do like you. Or I do love you, but I just don't know if I like you right now.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you feel like giving me any congratulations that Ryan Reynolds commented on one of my Instagram posts?
That
Publicly?
That was so amazing. I'm so glad you pointed it out to me.
You're welcome. Someone had to.
You know who was excited for you?
Everybody else?
Probably.
Everybody else who chose to tell me, no, it's really him. He really comments on people's stuff, and he probably actually did laugh. And you're like, man, his media team's really on it, huh? I'm like, fuck. All right. Well, thanks for joining.
Someone's got to keep you grounded, okay, mister?
Yeah, thanks. All right. Thanks for hanging out, guys. If you guys like what Katie and I talk about, don't get used to it because she's never coming on again. You can send us coffee money. Go to the Buy Me a Coffee page on the website and talk to you guys soon. Be a four shifter. Say bye.
Bye.
Oh, you want to say the slogan? All right, good. You still remember it. Durable and...
Oh, durable and capable on the job and away from it.
Away from it, good.
Grab some creamer from first shift, something, and a heater, and let's go chat.
Yeah.
Bye.